My friends and I have always been the type of people to sneak into places at night and do stupid stuff. We got drunk in cemeteries, climbed atop buildings so we weren't allowed to, things like that. But even a crazy bunch like us wanted to chill sometimes. So when that happened, we met at night and went for hikes in the woods. I have always been fond of the night and the silence it brought. It made me hear my own thoughts better and reflect on what I could do in this life. But of course, I knew those things I did were not something to brag about or be proud of. But it was just fun, so I didn't take it seriously. So after doing some stupid stuff on the side of a road that involved blowing stuff up and lighting the night sky, we decided to take a walk back home through the woods just to clear our heads a bit. It shouldn't have been anything spectacular. It should have been a regular walk where we laughed and joked about the before-mentioned stupid stuff. Instead, the beating wind made the leaves rumble and sing their song in the night. The crickets responded with their own tune. All of it brought a wave of tremendous peace to my otherwise weary and agitated heart. It made me feel like living in a world where I hadn't had to worry about anything. It brought me joy and calmness, a sense of belonging and safety. We all knew the road back home like the palm of our hand, but when the building appeared in front of us, the certainty of things being wrong and maybe even unnatural hit us all in the back of our heads like a steel hammer, with full force and a sense of reality check. Despite all my efforts to understand what was going on at that precise moment in time, the impossibility of getting a grip on how the events would later unfold was beyond me. The nocturnal tranquility would soon be reverted to primordial chaos. Nevertheless, the crooked building had an eerie feeling. It felt disgustingly evil and rotten to the core. It was something that hell had vomited to our world after it had gotten sick, feeding on disease and sin. That wasn't the only thing that felt wrong about it. I felt a call to go in. It beckoned me to explore it, to go inside and touch its sickly walls and see what death was made of. This felt like a sanctuary where whatever beast lived inside called us to come forth, to let it feed on our blood, innocence, spirit, and will. It breathed life in that abysmal building that needed food to sustain it. Black paint adorned every nook and cranny of the building. It looked alive and fresh. The spires stood like ancient guardians looking to eradicate every threat they might encounter. It looked like some kind of twisted church, like the reverse of a regular holy church. It looked filthy, dark and vicious, diabolical and gruesome. The building had only a set of windows and no doors. Its unnatural shape made me feel weird when I touched one of its walls. The moment I did that, a black substance, gooey and sticky, bled off from the walls. It was like a dormant giant had just begun crying tears of black blood. From its 4 spires, swarms of bats came out and flew away into the darkness of the night. A tremendous metallic hum followed, almost rendering me deaf. All 4 of us looked at each other with faces as white as sheets. The black goo that infected the entirety of the building's surface became aware in a way. First, I felt like it looked inside my mind, trying to lure me inside. Then, to my left, the substance retracted in a perfect rectangular shape and revealed a large metallic door. It opened slowly, and a pungent, vile smell crawled up the nostrils and descended into my lungs. Lee puked his guts out. "What the hell is this thing?" he asked. He gently rubbed the corners of his mouth with shaking hands. "I have a bad feeling about this. Do you guys feel it too?" asked Amanda. I nodded and Lucas sighed. "Let's leave it and go home," I half-mouthed. "I know this would probably suck, but I want to see what's inside. This thing appeared out of nowhere and it is making me curious to see what it is all about," said Lucas. "We're experts at this type of thing, right?" We went in and now stood before an altar. Whoever resided here had placed an offering on the stone surface. Dim light scattered throughout the room, but we could see everything inside. From left to right, I saw half a human arm with the bones sticking out and bloody fingers, an incense that emitted white smoke, strips of skin, and a human heart. We wanted to go back in a second, but the black goo had swallowed the door. The building gave us bait, and we took it like champions. We glanced at each other, and the image plastered on our eyes reflected the same thing. The thought that this would be our final resting place, our tomb where no one would ever find us, shook us to the core. A creaking noise came from another room of the building. I trembled and looked behind me. We all did. The goo looked at us with eyes that weren't there. Then, lo and behold, another door appeared. It opened itself again and we passed through. Amanda screamed. Lucas puked again. Lee's tears flowed like small rivers to an unknown destination. And I knew whatever beast, whatever monster lived inside, be it human or not, would kill us all. Goosebumps prickled the skin on my arms and a cold shiver tried to tear apart my spine. The gruesome picture before us all made us question our sanity. Shivering, we looked at dead people nailed to the walls. Some had huge nails driven through the center of their foreheads. Others had them in their eyes, chest, hands, or feet. Whatever did this had also torn open rib cages, mocking them and making them look like grotesque butterflies of death and blood. "Who are you?" a voice from the darkness asked. Raspy and demanding, evil beyond comprehension, but tired still. It hated seeing humans before its eyes, especially live ones. The beast loved to mock the human race too. Otherwise, I couldn't explain the grotesque tableau that adorned the walls of its house of death. It loved to look at people suffering and dying. It rejoiced in blood and death was the only thing it served. I heard a chain rattling. I asked who you are, and the most important thing is what are you doing in my house, the voice said again. The beast or man didn't want to reveal just yet. "We are lost, mister. Just a group of friends who got lost is all," Amanda said with a quivering voice. The chain rattled one more time. "Do you like what you see? I made this work of art myself. It took me some time to finish, but I've done it. I call it Where Life and Hunger Meet, and the result is what you see," it said again from the shadows. Lee stepped in. "I loved it, man. It's really something to look at, you know. It speaks volumes. Suffice it to say, this will be forever embedded in the back of my mind," he said. Of course, it was disgusting, but Lee knew how to act like a veritable strategist. In every challenging situation we had found ourselves in, Lee morphed the environment and twisted the emotions so that he managed to get us out and have it our way. The chain suddenly struck him in the chest. He coughed blood. We all screamed. A sharp metal arrowhead that ended the chain blasted his heart. He dropped to his knees and gave his final breath after saying, "At least I tried." "Now, do we have any more liars in the house?" he said as he slowly dragged Lee's body into the shadows. I heard bones snap and the beast started tearing Lee's flesh open. It fed off it, gulping the blood and chewing the skin and flesh. Amanda had watery eyes and she trembled at the sounds. We all did. "No, we don't. You have us trapped here, so you might as well kill the rest of us and be done with it," Lucas said. "It's not that easy, my friend," the beast said, but the voice came from a different part of the room. "What if I tell you I can make you live forever? What would you say about that?" A grave-like silence fell onto the room. "No," Amanda said. "I wasn't asking," the voice said. From the shadows it finally emerged. Wearing a black robe, the monster had deathly white skin. Its dead black eyes screamed bloody murder. Its arms hung limp, and in its hands, with long black fingernails, blood and intestines from Lee fell on the floor. Instead of a nose, he had two small holes, and behind his smile, on those diseased purple lips, sharp teeth shone in the dark. In a millisecond, the beast teleported in front of Amanda, grabbed her by the neck, and looked at me. "I sense you have something to say, young man, something that you really mean. You have something in your heart you want to let out," he asked me while turning his head. "Call me Horia." "Yes, I do have something to say. I will stay with you and be your disciple if you let my friends go. Let them go home safe and sound, and I'll stay. You won't have any use for us if we're dead, will you? Well, except for feeding purposes," I said as I felt my heart drumming inside my chest. "Johnny, no!" Lucas screamed. Amanda whimpered as the beast licked the falling tears off her cheeks with a disgusting long purple tongue that looked like an alien worm. "Are you sure about that, young man? There are things that no man has ever seen, and there are secrets and forbidden knowledge that will play with your mind indescribably," the beast said, interest nesting in his big black eyes. "Yes, I am," I replied boldly. "Brave and honest, I think we'll get along just fine. You too, leave now before I change my mind," he yelled with his raspy voice, pointing to a wall where a door had appeared. He then came behind me and bit my neck. While healthy blood left my body, something else replaced it. Something cursed and evil. It made me sick and it made me go insane. It made me feel a pang of insatiable hunger. It made me do things that I don't remember doing. There is something else inside me at times, taking control over my whole body and spirit. The mind is poisoned with the worms of death. It hurts. The screams inside my head hurt me, and the greedy voices always want more. They want more blood, more guts, more death, and this is something I can never stop. Thank you for watching. I hope everyone has a good nightmare.